and we're live. Thanks again for tuning in. This is City Post Game Live. I am Mike Andra here with Chris Magali.
Hello.
We have Chris P out in the audience.
I'm here.
And Schwarzenegger. Oh, there you go, Schwarzenegger. NYCFC drops the points. This was a game that I think most people going into it thought they were going to take. This was a relatively, going on paper, this was an easy opponent, and NYCFC did not get the job done.
Absolutely not. I mean, not only did they drop points, they kind of just dropped a deuce on this game, I feel like. I mean, not to get too vulgar about it, but, I wrote in my pregame analysis that this had all the makings of a trap game. We were going to be on rotation on a short week against an opponent that we really should beat. They were on a 4-game winless streak, outscored 13-1 prior to this. And, the backups just really didn't get it done.
Yeah, I think that's where we got to start the conversation. The backups. Was this a question where Patrick Vieira just did not put out a lineup that was strong enough to challenge RSL? Did he take them for granted?
See, I mean, if you asked me that before the game, I think the lineup, the obvious changes we had, Briant in for Chanot, which for me, going into it, would have been the biggest question mark. I had every confidence that R.J. Allen and Miguel Camargo were going to be able to get it done. And then Sean Okoli is still kind of a bit of a mystery, or at least he was for me going in. He got the goal there early on, which is something we needed to do. You wanted to kind of take the wind out of RSL, but I guess they just kind of got to the point where enough was enough. But going into the game, I absolutely think it could have gotten done, and I think Patrick Vieira kind of prides himself on the depth of the team, and it's something that I've talked about recently. A lot has been made about the depth of MLS teams going forward now with Toronto taking all their points with all their backups and everything like that. And I had kind of advocated for NYCFC's depth, but now I think I got to eat a little bit of crow because Miguel Camargo just incredibly unimpressive. Aside from the goal, Okoli, kind of uninspired, slow, just lackadaisical, sloppy in the attacking end.
So just want to give a thanks out to O'Carroll's Recovery Room for letting us broadcast here tonight.
Thank you, O'Carroll's.
And thank you to Teddy's Army, the Long Island members that are out here in attendance. And if any of you guys have a comment or a question you want to get in on the action, by all means, chime in. Here we go. We got one coming in right now. So what's your name?
Yep, we got you.
Dylan?
Yeah.
Why is Ethan White still starting?
I
not
think
the question I thought we would get.
Yeah, not that well, look, I think Ethan White is starting because Vieira has talked about he wants to play 3 in the back. He wants to have that option. Mm-hmm. And when he plays Ethan White as a right back, Ethan White is technically a center back playing out of position. So it allows him to play with 3 true center backs.
Mm-hmm. Without having to burn a sub.
Yeah, with Chanot, Callens, and White. Do I agree that going into this season, Ethan White was like my 4th person to think that was going to be playing right back, and he surprised me. But again, today was a game where you have to wonder, was the effort or the performance of the players on the field, because there were so many changes, so many people. Briant would have a big impact on how White played today because he doesn't have Chanot back there. He's not familiar with the communication that's going to come from Briant. He's expecting Chanot to be behind him.
Right.
He's also expecting Jack Harrison to be in front of him. Miguel Camargo, there were times I thought he was too far back, like he was just playing right on top of White. And I also think that Camargo wasn't a good enough outlet for White to say, okay, I can put the ball and know that this guy's going to get it.
Yeah.
I thought Camargo, when I was a left-sided player, so why was he taking over on? I know Vieira likes to switch people,
he
but
inverts them, yeah.
But why do that? Because again, it really makes it a difficult question.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Ethan White. Who else are you going to put it right back? I mean, I know we have Shannon Gomez back there, and he was a guy that we specifically were really high on going into the season.
Yeah, I want to see Gomez get a start.
Yeah, and this would have been the game to do it. It looks like we'll have to wait for the U.S. Open Cup, in which we will not be seeing the New York Cosmos. But He's done a passable job, but I think, Mike, you hit it right on the head with it puts more responsibility on him when the guys in front of him aren't doing their job. And when he has a guy like Jack Harrison or Rodney Wallace, depending on which one is playing where in front of them, who have a little bit more capability in the defensive responsibilities of their game, it makes him better. It takes a little bit off his shoulders, which is something that Vieira has gone with a lot going into the season. He talks about defending from the front to kind of relieve the pressure off the back line. So, when what's going on in front of him isn't really working or putting it together, it exposes him a little bit. And I think you saw a little bit of that today.
So we got a couple of people chiming in on Facebook Live. So again, if you're out there and you Facebook Live, by all means, send in the comment. Rob Joya, agrees with you. He thinks the depth that NYCFC thought they had, that Vieira thought he had in the beginning of the season,
really missing
that's
right
not
now,
there. Yeah. And a couple of guys saying, look, Mata's his injury is really killing this team. Mm-hmm. But I will say, I wasn't expecting RJ. I know Ben Sweat struggled against Dallas, and I know that this is a short week. I wasn't expecting Allen to play left back. You had Kwame Awuah, you had other options, and it was really interesting to see RJ Allen get that start. Because, not only was it interesting to see, but I also think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a long time before I think we see RJ Allen take the field, because tonight's performance did not earn him any more minutes.
No. The one person that was missing that actually really surprised me was John Lewis.
Yeah.
I really thought that we would see him, and I saw a little bit in the behind the scenes from practice yesterday. Right at the end, he was getting a little work done on his neck, and I know that had been bothering him earlier in the year. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it. But I thought this would be a perfect game for him to get in. But I can see why Vieira will want to get Camargo some minutes. But wow, just really, really disappointed in the front three today. I mean, Tommy he didn't do anything egregious. He played well on defense in the back. I think he led the team in clearances today. Right, but somebody has to. But yeah, just really all around kind of disappointed.
All right, so we're starting to get some of the comments coming in. Tell us who you are.
I'm Dave Schwal, also known as Schwalsteiger and/or Schwalicus. Hey guys. I just felt Tommy Mack, again, for the second game in a row that he got a start, basically did nothing. Aside from his goal that came off a crossbar off of a David Villa free kick, he's done legitimately nothing.
Certainly not
for
enough.
The team.
Certainly not enough, I would agree with you.
Honestly, with his clearances, there were one or two passes that he probably could have made instead of just booting the ball into the 14th row of the stands.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree that, there was a lot of talk a couple weeks ago when, there was the whole Andre Pirlo, Tommy McNamara controversy, like who do you start in that spot, before Herrera kind of got in and took a stranglehold on it, right? That Tommy McNamara should be starting in that spot. And I actually agree with you. He hasn't impressed me in the way that I thought he would to this point. Again, he hasn't done anything egregiously wrong where I'm like, no, he shouldn't play anymore. But I'd like to see some more from him.
Yeah, I think Tommy Mack, basically, he should be a super sub with 15, 20 minutes left in the game, and that's it.
And maybe that's his role.
Clean up. That's what he does best. He gets those garbage goals in the last 10 minutes of the game.
Here's an interesting. Well, before I want to ask you all a question, but let me give you a comment, because Anthony Scarcello said basically Camargo was awful, Maxey had a terrible game, too many turnovers and missed passes, and this team is deadly when they can't string more than 3 passes together. But I want to ask the guys here, with the fact that Tommy was the captain, and we just kind of criticized his performance, does that kind of tell you all you need to know about the lineup that Vieira set out there? That there was no other player with enough leadership quality, that Tommy was the leader out there, and we all kind of agree. He didn't show a lot in the last game, and he didn't show a lot tonight. That's just that tells me from the outset, this was not a good lineup decision.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just looking at it here. I see we got it. I mean, he is certainly the longest of the starting 11. He's the longest tenured person that we have. But I would almost argue that if Alex Rain came out with the armband on, I wouldn't have been upset.
So I mean, that's the question: is the armband about tenure and how long you've been with the club, or is it about the leadership that you show?
I mean, it can't be because we've seen Chanot. When Villa comes off, Chanot gets the armband.
Why not give Sean Johnson this armband? You know, why not let him, you know, take the lead? Because I just don't think that Tommy has shown enough. And again, the fact that he wasn't in the 18, it wasn't against Dallas, but it was the game before then. Or was he? Was
Atlanta?
Yeah. That, you know, just tells me that Vieira doesn't put him at a high regard, and all of a sudden he's wearing the captain's armband 2 games later.
Maybe he did something in training to warrant it. We don't know because we're not in Utah.
Yeah. So, you know, so NYCFC got the goal. Okoli, you know, showed a lot of fight to get that goal. It was you know, it was a game that, did you just shut that down? Yeah. Oh, okay. It was it was definitely a goal that showed a lot of effort. But how many other chances did they really create? How many other times did they really demonstrate that they were going to be able to pick apart this again, a weakened RSL team?
Yeah, similarly to Dallas, we had a lot of trouble just getting the ball and keeping it in the attacking third. You know, I know at the half, Joe Tollison had mentioned that we were winning the possession battle. I don't know how it ended, but yeah, just I feel like, and I said this a little bit before, I feel like we were kind of hamstrung by a lack of effort. Now, I don't know if it's Sean Okoli is just slow. But I didn't see him really running all out at all. And Camargo, I expected a little bit more technical ability. Yeah, the chances just weren't there. You know, we're trying to create shots here, and yeah, we got outshot 17-16, which, I mean, us getting outshot is not something that happens really ever. So, hold on, we got to turn you back on.
For you guys.
There you go.
For everyone here. What do you tell Vieira? If you get a chance in the locker room right now, what do you tell him after this game?
He totally listens to the show.
Just in case he does, because he's got nothing better to do.
So it's a long flight back from Utah.
Last year, because it's the same exact shit. I'm gonna ask him if he remembers the same game in Toronto last year when he trotted just a basic team just to get a draw and call it a day, and we ended up losing. What was it, 3-0 or something? Like that?
I don't remember. It was 2
out.
or 3. Yeah, it was 2. Yeah.
Same story here. He trotted out a team thinking we're just gonna claim a win just because, hey, what the hell, and we got stomped on. Yeah, and you know, well, he just quits on certain games. You know, I'd rather put a full lineup here and get the easy 3 points and put nobodies against a good team that we're probably going to lose against anyway.
Right. So,
I mean,
do you think it was too many subs or too many like B guys in one match?
No, I think it's not even about whether they're A or B. It's about a lineup that can win, because there were times tonight where you're sitting there and you're saying, "What's the formation?" Again, Camargo on one side. Okoli playing the straightforward position. Yeah. So he's flanked by what? Who is Okoli flanked by?
McNamara and Camargo.
So McNamara, because I thought McNamara dropped in underneath Okoli a lot more than I would expect him to.
Yeah.
So that means that you're playing with no true winger in front of R.J. Allen. You know, that's the type of thing. This team, if Vieira is as good of a coach as he says he is, and a manager as he says he is, this team, you should be able to plug any player into any role, and they should play the game the same way. I didn't see that. McNamara obviously went back to his style of play where he likes to play underneath. That might work well with Villa. It didn't work well with Sean Okoli.
So let's talk a little bit about the goal that we conceded. The first one came out of nowhere. It came from the top of the box and just rifled in, similar to the goal we gave up against Atlanta at home before we started this trip.
Shout out to Dylan. Who's Dylan?
Who's Dylan?
Dylan. Shout out to Dylan. We just got to shout out. Someone recognized
Somebody
your voice.
shouted you out.
Mario recognized you and said shout out. So I think again, we haven't seen it too many times, but the goal that we conceded, that first goal, it's Tommy McNamara not putting enough pressure on Rusnak as he's basically running across the top of the box.
Yeah.
You know, I can understand. I think it's a matter of maybe McNamara just didn't have the pace to keep up with him, so the best thing he could do is try to stay in front and block the angle. But McNamara's got to put pressure on that ball, so he's thinking, I can't set my shot because I'm not going to have the time, because by the time I go to set my foot, he's going to be in front of me, and that's not what happened. He had a clean shot on that.
Yeah. I'm wondering if now this is going to be a thing where teams start trying to take those long-range, just powerful shots. Because, I mean, it's worked now twice. So I wonder if that's their response to our more aggressive defense.
If you're talking about the Dallas game and the Acosta goal?
No. I mean, now we saw it with Atlanta, and now here.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think what other goal you're referencing. I mean, I guess it just depends on where Alex Ring is in that position.
Actually, the Acosta goal, still a closer range than what I'm talking about, but similar in its setup.
If Alex Ring is doing his job and he's able to stay home, and that goal kind of came off the side,
right.
So Ring, even if he was helping out and playing his position, he's going to get pulled out of that center, and I think that's what happened. Ring should be occupying that space. He should be, making sure that is not a free spot for guys to take shots on.
Excuse me.
And in order for that to happen, everyone else around him has to do their job, and I think that's where it broke down. It broke down because they had possession on the outside, and the Rusnak was able to make that run across the top of the box. But I think with Alex Ring, where he's been, I think teams are not going to be as willing to take that risk, because I think they know that Ring is going to be able to cover a lot of ground and basically keep those shots to a minimum.
Well, if you guys want to talk about guys that are covering, anybody want to mention R.J. Allen tonight?
As far as
defensively?
Yeah, just kind of a disappointing. And I love R.J. Allen, but disappointing game for him.
Yeah, R.J. can't play on the left side.
Yeah.
We tried it last year a few games, and he really didn't show anything then. And tonight, obviously, he hasn't played at all, basically all year.
Right.
But tonight was basically a continuation. R.J. on the left side is not something that works.
He showed why he hasn't played all year, pretty much. Yeah.
But it also begs the question for a guy who hasn't played. I mean, he played in Orlando for the first game, then played tonight. It's a long stretch to not have. Or he played a cameo for 10 minutes. Who did he come on? He came on at the end of one game.
I don't remember.
But it's one of those things where you sit there and you say that's a tough ask. It's a tough ask for him to switch sides. But I also think, and I mentioned this when I was a guest on your show. RJ's physical talent and his bite was enough to get him minutes in last year's NYCFC, in the 2016 NYCFC.
Right.
When you look at the players that are built around him now, and it's strange because Ethan White would not be a guy who I'd expect to challenge for those minutes, but Ethan White is doing what Vieira wants well enough, and it's showing that maybe Ethan White has that better ability from either a decision-making perspective or a technical perspective to make him to where RJ's bite is kind of negated. And you saw it tonight. Again, RJ took that crap foul.
Yeah.
It was 3-on-1. They had the RSL player track down. It was McNamara, Callens, and RJ, and RJ tripped the guy. You're 3-on-1 against a player, and you're taking a foul, 30 yards away from your box. That's a bad decision, and that means that you can't trust yourself to just take the ball away from the guy. You just have to foul him.
Mario is shouting out literally the entire supporters group.
Do you think, as a DP, that Maxey is just not making enough of a difference?
I think in the last two games, he hasn't played well. I mean, tonight and then Sunday against Dallas. Dallas, I almost don't blame him for it because we were talking a little bit during the game. Every time he touched the ball, he had 3 or 4 guys on him. And obviously, Maxey, he's good with the ball at his feet, but, I mean, he can get lost in a pack of 3 or 4 guys. But I think since we've made the change to Yangel Herrera, I think it allows him to be a little bit more free in bringing the ball up and shuttling the ball back and forth instead of kind of locking him deeper into our own end when he has Pirlo next to him. When he has Herrera and Ring with him and he can play centrally, I feel like it frees him up to get those assists to Villa and to kind of be the pivot that he's good at. He's not making $6 million. For like what is he? He's making like
$2 million.
Yeah, just under 2, right? Or
Just over.
thereabouts.
His guaranteed was 2.
Okay. So for that money, I'd say he's okay. I'd like to see a little bit more scoring maybe. But I don't have any major complaints about Maxi Morales.
I think, again, I'm going to say this a lot. It's about the relationships on the field. I think Pirlo playing on the field, I was actually expecting Morales to get a break. He had just played the full 90 in Dallas, and I thought with Pirlo coming back into the starting 11, you were going to see maybe somebody else with a little more energy or a different type of
Like Mikey Lopez?
yes, just someone who's going to run around and help create space.
Run around a little bit.
Because Maxi's not a guy who's going to create space. He's going to occupy the space that's created for him, and I think that's what Pirlo. You want a guy who's like Lopez, who's going to run around, draw players out of position, and allow Pirlo to play into that open space. And Morales didn't do that, and I think that was part of the lineup.
I just have a question for my friend back home, Chris. Just bottom line, I know it's too early to tell, but does Maxi seem to pan out to be a decent DP signing, or was it just a complete waste of a DP slot and money?
At $2 million, which is, again, it's above that threshold. It's not 6. It's not Villa money. It's not Pirlo money. I think I'm still willing to give him another 10 games to see. He came out and has done pretty well. He's had an impact, and I've heard a lot of analysts call him they use the term a force multiplier. So he makes everyone else around him better. So if you've got a team clicking, he'll make Herrera better. He'll make Ring better. He'll make a Jack Harrison better. You saw in preseason, you saw a couple times already in the regular season, Villa, Harrison, and Maxi have like really linked up together, and they all play at that same level. They can think at a level higher than an R.J. Allen. They can think higher than an Ethan White. So I think it makes
Not a lot of love for Ethan White in this room tonight.
so I think it's something where he's going to pan out at the level he's at. Would I expect him to get a raise to $4 million or $5 million? No. At that point, then I think you've got better options.
Right. Yeah. No. Like I said, I mean, he hasn't done anything for really me to hate on him too much. I think he's doing the job he's being asked to do. For the most part, he's done it well. He's hit a stretch of games here where he's kind of been neutralized a little bit. But yeah, for $2 million, the thing is, like, I guess it's kind of dependent on who would you replace him with? Who would you get in? Would you get another 10? Would you get somebody else? I think Maxi was a clever signing for the club to this point, and it's too early in the season for me to really call him bust. It was easier to go in on Frank Lampard as a bust because he didn't play for 3/4 of the season. Maxi's in there. He's in there every game now. He just played 2 90-minute games basically back to back. So yeah, no, I have no problems with Maxi.
Let me jump in with the stat. Coming into this game, number 1 on tackles was Alex Ring. Number 2, most tackles on the team, Maxi Morales. That's not something that you sign a DP for to get you a lot of tackles. You sign a DP to score a lot of goals, make big plays. So,
well, depending on where a tackle is, it could be a big play.
The question is, and I think that's what they're getting to, is Maxi Morales good enough to be a DP, or should we get someone else? Maybe.
I mean, my opinion, I think Maxi has been fine.
Yeah.
He's overperformed, I think. We brought him in as a playmaker, and he's, second or third on the team in tackles? Yeah. So this guy's supposed to be setting up chances for our team, which is what he's been doing. He wasn't brought in to finish. He's not a striker. He's a number 10, and that's what he's been doing. But he's also dropping back into a number 6 spot for lack of other midfielders actually running more than 5 feet at a time. Or, I mean, when we have strikers that don't know how to finish or don't know how to make the right runs, it makes it more difficult for him, which is why Pirlo is just an excessive weight. He's a great player, but he's not built for this team that we have. We've seen the difference between having Herrera, Ring, and Maxi in midfield, which is where our team just happens to take.
He was signed to help us keep possession, and to facilitate other players, and I think he does that very well. Not to get on, I'm I've made promises to people that I'm not going to hate on Andre Pirlo tonight. But just to touch on it real quickly, and for the record, he didn't do anything tonight that got me overly upset with him being in there. There were worse things happening out there for me to hate on Pirlo. But I totally agree with what you said. I think Pirlo was a panic buy in a lost season, and the way Vieira has constructed the team now, he's still great at what he does, and people misconstrue that when I hate on him. He's very, very good at what he does. Maybe still one of the best in the world, but what he does doesn't fit the philosophy of the team. And with that, we will
go back out to the
Yes.
audience.
Do you think if Maxi had a couple more inches on his height that he would be like an even better player than he is right now? I mean, he's holding down the midfield like you guys are saying, but like, you know, he's as short as me, you know. So like
I mean, I don't. I guess the question is, it depends on what you're looking for from his style of play. At the end of the day, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's linking up between players. He's distributing. Doesn't matter how short you are, if you can pass the ball well. I mean, we'll make a height joke, but if his vision is because he's underneath the shoulder blades of most players, he might actually have that as an advantage in saying, hey, he can see the field from a different perspective. The same way that a tall center back, or let's use a football analogy, a tall quarterback can see a play differently. I think that might be something that's unique to his ability. It's tough. I think he would be a better goal scorer, because I think you saw it a bunch of times today. It's Maxi's style of play. He'll hold the ball, he'll wait till he feels pressure, and he'll just fall down. 9 times out of 10, he's getting that foul called. The question is, do you need that foul? Do you want that stoppage of play, or do you want to just keep continuing to play forward? And would you have someone who, with a little more muscle, a little more height, might be able to hold up that play a little bit better and work around? There's times when Villa gets the ball and he can't hold up the play the same way. So Villa's not a Coley, Maxi's not even Villa.
Mario's asking, has Jack Harrison digressed since last season? I think he means regressed. But no, I think he's gotten.
Yeah.
I think he's gotten better.
Jack has. I mean, he's been a guy who's impressed a lot of people, more so than they were expecting. I think they were thinking, because he only played the half season last year, that his growth was going to be a little bit slower this year, that he was still going to have a little bit of a learning curve. And we learned in preseason that his hip injury, his
is still not.
Is not 100%. So again, here's a guy who is performing at a high level with some things holding him back from being a top flight player.
Yeah, the one thing that I had said in the preseason that I wanted to see from Jack Harrison was he tended to hold on to the ball a little too long. He would wait until he was like triple teamed to try and do something. And he has that great one-on-one ability. He can get himself out of that. But when he gets those additional defenders to commit, he needs to have a little bit better vision to distribute instead of just holding on the ball and trying to make something happen on his own. To his credit, he's gotten better at that. So far this season. He still dribbles himself into trouble sometimes, but he does look for the pass, and he does kind of get himself open or bring the ball up in a way that he doesn't get himself into that situation.
Yeah, he's commented in a couple of interviews that he's actually happier that he's changed his approach. He's not as predictable. So that's good to hear.
Absolutely.
Let's go back out there.
Just as an Italian, I feel like I have to come out and defend Pirlo a little bit. I thought his general play tonight was actually pretty good in the field, and I thought he made 2-3 key passes and crosses where we should have scored tonight, and guys like Tommy Mack are just squandering his beautiful passes.
I mean, I can't disagree with you on a lot of those thoughts. Is sometimes, and it's what Chris had said earlier, Pirlo's ability just sometimes doesn't fit the style of play or the players that are around him. Pirlo's used to having Juventus quality strikers and forwards and wingers at his disposal, so those balls into space really, translate into opportunities. Sometimes for NYCFC they translate into possession and a back pass back to the defense.
We need to stop doing that. So, yeah, certainly the least of our problems tonight. I think on this team, he's a situational player, which probably is a little upsetting to some people to hear that, to a legend of the game like Pirlo being a situational player. But the fact of the matter is that MLS is, and he said that, it's much less about play and more about physicality and running, and it's just not as pretty as it is in Italy, which I mean nobody's going to disagree with. So yeah, just
we got a question
strokes.
from Roddy Russell Jr. on Facebook. Has Frederick Briant redeemed himself?
No.
Yeah, well, and
Period.
You actually thought it was an own goal at first. Thought you thought that the header from Mound was an own goal.
Yeah, actually, it was the way that Briant reacted to it, I think, is what threw me off. Is he got really upset. I was like, oh, come on, it's only my second start in this season, and I got an own goal. It would have been his third own goal for NYCFC. But yeah, I mean, either way, Camargo just got trucked on that goal. He was just, he had no chance. But he didn't do anything for me to say, okay, I feel more comfortable with Frederick Briant out there. Chanot is obviously still the starter. The one thing, and actually this kind of opens up a conversation for something else, Alexander Callens is really, really susceptible to the crossover. He loses his balance all the time on the edge of the box with really nimble and agile wingers.
So let's take a check and go around the league. Philadelphia beat Houston 2-0. That was at home. Sporting Kansas City beat Seattle 3-0. Chicago beat Colorado 3-0. We know the score of our game, and it is halftime near 0-0.
There's a game after hours.
Well, because they're in California, they're in San Jose, so that is 0-0. I don't have any the U.S. Open Cup updates. Oh, hold on.
Well, the important one was that the Cosmos lost.
Cosmos lost.
So there will be
3-2.
no NYCFC New York unless there's some random exhibition.
Next year.
But
If the NASL is around next year.
It's the strongest league, right? There's the most fans. I mean, you saw the stadium that was filled for the Cosmos.
actually, that brings up a good point. So I said this to Chris P. In the beginning of the match in RSL. It was a cold, snowy Wednesday night at Rio Tinto, and there were definitely more people there than were at Red Bull Arena this weekend.
Let's, so we're getting an update from Twitter that Vieira has basically taken in his post-game press conference, taken full responsibility for the loss.
Of course.
The quote was, "It's his mind."
I mean, well, what's the saying? Players win, coaches lose.
Yeah.
And
refs.
it's hard to argue with him, really. I mean, he was the one that put the team out there.
So now a question to everyone here, because obviously this was a game that, on paper, everyone thought these were points NYCFC should have. Going into Orlando, a team that NYCFC struggles against, where's the confidence level?
Fans.
Anybody want to take that one?
For the team or
Well,
for the fans?
For the fans to say, hey, look, we're going to be able to fix this and turn it around by Sunday.
We suck again.
Oh, no!
Yeah.
I don't think it's that low, but it's certainly not high either going into this game. It's a lot of question marks, and obviously Orlando has been a team that, for whatever reason, no matter how well or how poor they're doing, we just happen to suck against. And since they're actually doing well this year, it doesn't actually give too much hope. But, I mean, the team has had some games together. Hopefully Vieira pulls his head out of his ass and actually starts a decent lineup. And from there, maybe we'll be the first team to actually take points, an actual win out of Orlando.
Do you think we'll beat Orlando on short rest on the road?
I mean, they're coming from San Jose, so technically our flight's a little bit shorter. I mean, that might work in our favor.
It's actually a good point.
Kaká might pull his hamstring in the first 5 minutes again, so there's always hope for things like that.
Anybody else?
Anybody else want to take that? Opinions?
How will we do in Orlando?
Predictions. They do not look energized.
Well, I mean, it's like 11:30.
So
I just have a separate question. Shout out to my friend Mario. He's just shouting me out nonstop. Do you think David Villa is still playing at an MVP caliber level? Not necessarily saying he's the MVP this year, but is he still playing at a high level? Because I can't tell if it's maybe the supporting cast is still not mentioned because Harrison's plays kind of degraded a bit, and Wallace has a good 15 minutes and then vanishes for 60. So I can't tell if it's the play around that he's just not getting service and he's back to year one making desperation shots from crappy angles just because he's got nothing left in him, or if it's just...
I will start with one comment. I'm happy that he didn't play a full 90 today because I'm sick and tired of seeing him shoot the ball from half field. I get the goal against Philly, but every other game he's taken one of those, and that's just kind of silly. I understand sometimes you're not always going to hold possession, but it's just foolish. I'm trying to think back. How many games did Villa miss last year?
He missed the Colorado match, and I think that might have been the only one.
Because he's already missed one.
And we won that game 5-1.
Yeah, he missed the illness, and then he didn't start this game.
Right.
And I wonder if he's already starting to see.
He missed the Cosmos match too, if you catch that, if you count that.
We kind of knew going into this season that Villa wasn't going to play the same number of minutes and at the same level. That was just one of those things that Vieira had talked about, that it was going to be because of the confidence, and we just talked about the depth and the fact that it really doesn't exist, that because of the confidence and the depth that Villa was not going to be relied upon as much. So I wonder, I don't think he's going to play that same MVP caliber. Now, granted, prior to tonight, I think he was still doing pretty well.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I don't really. Tonight's kind of an outlier game, I think, when it comes to, it's hard to analyze a guy like Villa in a game like this. He came in, it was pretty much less. He came on to make a difference, and, he and Jack were combining there for a little bit to certainly try and get something done. But, I mean, again, we're now, 11 matches into the season, so we're about a third of the way through. It's hard to say if he's going to have another MVP season. The defense across the league, I feel like, is better, the defensive quality. It's still not great, but it's better. But he's still unquestionably the leader of the team. I think he sets a good example. And, I mean, he's certainly the team MVP. I don't know about the league.
So the only team left still playing tonight is Orlando. But we know Toronto's at the top with 25 points. Toronto is just having a phenomenal season. Columbus in second with 19 points. Orlando's in tied for second with 19 points. Chicago, then NYCFC, and then Red Bulls below. But NYCFC is still above the red line. Again, it's very early to be talking about the playoffs, but this is just a game that kind of sets that tone. And
this is the game on this road trip that was the guarantee.
Yono Leo on Twitter kind of made a great point. He goes, look, the big teams can play every 3 or 4 days. NYCFC is supposed to be one of those big teams. It's supposed to have that depth that we were talking about, and Vieira picked a lineup that just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember if it was Matt Doyle or Will Parchment or whoever, but whoever billed the FC Dallas game on MLSsoccer.com said it was a clash of titans of MLS, and I mean, we just have not played that way these last 2 games.
So we're going to wind it down. Thanks again for you all sticking around. Anything else that you guys, thoughts or ideas? We appreciate you coming down to the recovery room and, spending the Wednesday night with us.
No?
How about one person you don't want to see play again this season?
Ever?
No, this season.
I mean, barring
I've already
some
heard 2 Ethan Whites.
Barring some crazy
Well,
hexing for injury.
Let's go back to Dylan's question. Ethan White doesn't play. Who's playing instead of him? Are you going to put RJ back and right back? You're going to put Shannon Gomez?
That's for every game. Mario, no. I'm not going to read that question out loud, but no. He asked if Alexi Lalas should be our permanent announcer.
Alexi might actually travel to games. So I mean that's when it's the same question when people say fire the coach. Well, okay, fire the coach if you have someone who's going to replace him. So
Well,
if
I
you're
mean,
going to take Ethan White out of the lineup,
We fired Crace, and I mean, he's sitting above us on the table.
Yeah.
Crace, is it? I have no idea.
Christ.
Crazy Christ. Well, we canned him after a first year with basically nobodies. I mean, look at who we have left from that team. Nobody. We fired him for that team.
Tommy
Yet
McNamara.
We have, yeah, and we've just been saying how poorly he's been playing this year. So that shows you all we need to know about that. But on the flip end, we had Vieira. Okay, yeah, he led us to a playoff. That was great with a Lampard, with Pirlo, with Jack Harrison playing spectacular, which we haven't seen at all this year. And, you know, first round disaster in the playoffs. I guess we cut. Oh, I'll take RJ in a second.
okay.
Interesting.
He's getting help. He's getting help from above him with Jack Harrison. Chanot is like a wall behind him. Ethan White's really. I mean, this distribution hasn't been great. If you look at his distribution chart, and RJ Allen used to be able to curl the ball, and he used to have great assists from just the halfway point.
Well, there's the difference in the two players that you're talking about. I mean, R.J. Allen is certainly he's better service, but Ethan
feel-
White's a better defensive right
I feel
back.
it comes back to speed because RJ would go up to the half and he wouldn't really venture up too far because then he'd get stuck there. Ethan, yeah, but he would get stuck there. Yeah, but then he'd get yelled at, and then he would stop doing it. Ethan White would go up and then run back, but then when he'd run back, I feel he wasn't that great a defender.
So going back to
With what?
Yeah.
Oh, Mata.
Speaking of which, I wanted to ask that how many more weeks does he have on the injury list? Like 2, right?
Yeah, he's still 2 weeks away. So
I mean, I know he's
maybe,
practicing.
Maybe Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so,
we'll need him for
So going
Atlanta,
back, we're
for
looking
sure.
for a player that you, after tonight's performance, you would not want to see back. And according to Chris, this is he doesn't want to see him ever back in.
I mean, I'd love to see Tommy Mack again, but I don't want to see him ever starting for us again.
Interesting.
Yeah,
He
Tommy
should come in earliest 60th minute.
Tommy Mack becomes a super sub like Kyrie Shelton. So
For me, I feel like I don't want to see Briant anymore. I'm over Frederic Briant.
Frederic Briant is a great fifth defender. So when you want to go 5 at the back and you're against San Jose, you've got to make sure you don't lose any head balls. That's an okay you know.
Although, now one quick question. Which game do you think is more important? The away against Orlando or the away against Atlanta?
I think it's more important to take the points off Orlando.
The only thing I think about is Atlanta. Again, it goes back to this question when you compare teams on paper. Orlando's a team that you've struggled against. You haven't been able to figure them out, and from a confidence perspective, but yeah, I'd love to take the 3 points from Orlando. I just think you take the points that you can win. You beat the teams you're supposed to beat. And because Atlanta's below you,
We obviously don't do that.
well, but yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean RSL was someone threw it up on Twitter earlier. On RSL was 21st coming into this game, and now they're 19th because they took 3 points from NYCFC. That's the thing that I struggle with. I have zero confidence going into Sunday's game. I'll be frank about it because the way we've played against Orlando, because the way Kyle Larin has played against us. And because of the short week. I know Orlando's got the same thing to deal with, but I think I just worry that Vieira's always going to be the guy that gets in NYCFC's way. And I think coming back against Atlanta with full rest, I think those are the points that we're going to take.
Interesting. Is Martinez going to be back for Atlanta?
No, Martinez is actually with
Herrera.
With Herrera.
Oh,
That was something that John Rojas tweeted out today to remind us that their final group stage game is actually the same day as the.
it's 2 days before.
Oh, okay.
Their last game, I think we're playing Atlanta the 30th. Their last game's the 28th.
So I think we're going to wrap it up. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. We are going to be at Ryan's Daughter. I don't know if you'll be there, but
No, I probably won't.
this gear will be there at Ryan's Daughter on Sunday. So NYCFC takes on Orlando away. City Post Game Live will be coming to you from Ryan's Daughter. You can always find the show if you follow Blue York One on Facebook. Then you'll get the updates when we go live. Look for the tweets. And guys, we really appreciate you coming out and supporting us.
Thank you, guys.
And let's
Thank you
go.
to the recovery room.
And that's Donald behind the bar. Make sure you take care of him. But
Tip your bartenders.
guys, thanks again so much.
Thank you.